Hi, I'm Andy. Welcome back. I'm really happy that you're here. Today I'm bringing you my half-year check-in for my makeup inventory numbers. This is all makeup. This is all the makeup that is in my collection. This is not skincare, hair care, or body care. It is all makeup. I am going to be telling you what I have finished this year, what I have decluttered, and what I have added back into my collection. I used to say purchased, but now I say added because I have friends that sometimes send me things. And while I didn't purchase them, they still count. I still have to count them as being added into my collection. So now I just say added. This is not a collection video. It is an inventory video. So I will not be going through things one by one, but I will have pictures up on a graphic of everything that is in that category. Before we get started, I do want to give a big shout out to Erin Taylor. She's a fellow creator here on this platform. If you don't follow her, I will have her linked in the description box below. Her channel is all about conscious consumerism and panning. She does some get ready with me videos. One thing that I really love about Erin is that she's very helpful. She is such a great cheerleader. She shares all of her methods on panning, on conscious consumerism, and she wants you to succeed just as much as she has succeeded in her panning journey. She shares her spreadsheet with everyone, like actually shares it for free. And I started using her spreadsheet this year, and it has made such a difference on keeping track of what is in my collection. She has done her spreadsheet mojo and put in formulas that just make it effortless. So I do really appreciate that so much. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the 5th time I've tried to film this video tonight because it is the 6th of July, not the 4th of July. It's the 6th of July. But it's a Saturday. So you would think it's the 4th of July because all of my neighbors have been letting off fireworks all night long. It is now midnight. I've tried to film this so many times tonight, you guys. I really want to get it done. I really want to get it edited so that you guys can see it on Sunday the 7th. So hopefully you're seeing it on Sunday the 7th. So let's go ahead and get started. The first category we're going to talk about is primer. On the picture, you're going to see 2 photos, and some of my categories I have this way, where the photo on the left is going to be everything that's open, and then the photo on the right is going to be everything that I have not yet opened, just on a couple of different categories, but this is one of them. In January, I had 20. I have finished 7 primers this year. I have decluttered 0, and I have added 3. Those 3 were all gifts from my friend Michelle. She sent me 3 of my Holy Grail primers for my birthday. So I now have 16 primers. That is a difference of -4, and I am so ecstatic about that. This is my year to finish. This is my year to finish half-used products. I made a conscious effort to put the things that I have open in my everyday makeup drawer or my everyday shop my stash or whatever, so that I can concentrate on just finishing those things. So some of my categories, it might seem like I finished a lot in that category, but it's because these things were like half empty or even almost all the way empty, and I just made the effort to finish them. So the next category is glow primer. I do put glow primers in a separate category from primers because I use them differently. Primers I use as my base layer. I put it all over my face, underneath my foundation. But glow primers, I will sometimes mix with a foundation, or I will put those on top of a primer. I use them differently than a primer. Most of my primers are pore smoothing, and glow primers are not that. So I do put those in a different category. And in January, I had 20 of those also. I have panned 2 of those. I decluttered 1, and I decluttered that to a friend. It was a little deep for my skin tone. It was the Pure No Filter Primer. A little deep for my skin tone. I thought maybe she would like it. She gladly accepted it, and hopefully she does like it. I now have 17, and that is a difference of -3. The next category is foundation. I had 15 foundations in January. I have panned 3 foundations this year. I have decluttered 0, but I did add one. I had a friend that sent one to me. We did a little makeup swap. I gave her something that wasn't working for me, and she gave me something that wasn't working for her. Worked out really well. I now have 13 primers with a difference of 2, a -2. Next up are concealers. I started the year with 13 concealers. I have panned 4 concealers this year. I did declutter one. It was bad. It went bad. It was very old. I added 0, so now I have 8 for a difference of -5. That makes me ecstatic because I feel like 13 concealers is quite a bit, especially for a cream product. I'm hoping that I can actually get through them before they go bad. Next up are color correctors. I started the year with only 4. I didn't finish any. I didn't declutter any, but I did add one. I added the e.l.f. Putty Color Correcting Eye Brightener. And so now I have 5 for a difference of +1. I'm okay with that number because they are pretty much all different. The one is an eye brightener, and then I have 2 that I use to cover my hyperpigmentation. Those are the peach ones. I have the blue one, which is going to cool down any foundations that are too warm for me, which are most of them. And I have the white one there, and that is to lighten up foundation. I have several foundations that are a little too dark for my skin tone, even in the summer, but they're all really great brands. So I got them from BoxyCharm or whatever. So I'm keeping them. I'm just adjusting the color a little bit with the color corrector. Next up is powder. Previously, I had my pressed powder and my loose powder in separate categories. This year, I just put them all together. There's no reason to have them in separate categories. So I have them all together, and I started the year with 18 of them. I have since finished 4. Those were all loose powders that I finished. I did declutter one, and that was a powder foundation that I was going to use as a pressed powder. That was the product that I gave my friend when we did our little makeup swap. And that was the Essence, I think it's the 18-hour powder foundation. People love it. I am not a powder foundation girly, and I don't know why I thought I was. I added 0, which gives me 13. So I have -5 difference, and that is awesome. I am so happy with that -5. Again, I had partial containers of powders that I concentrated on using this year. So I was really happy to get those out. Next up is cream contour. I do have my cream contours in a separate category. Cream contour and bronzers are 2 different things, so I have them in 2 different categories. But I have my powder contours in with my bronzers. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it makes sense to me, and that's really all that matters. So my cream contour, I started with 5. I did finish a cream contour this year. It was an e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer that I had bought in a cool dark shade, and I loved it as a cream contour. I finished that this year. I decluttered 0, but I did add 2. Now, technically, I only ordered 1, but it came damaged, so they sent me a second one and told me to keep that one, so I ended up with 2 extra. So I went from 5 to 6. So I do have a +1 in that category. Next, we're moving on to bronzers. I do have my powder bronzers and cream bronzers in different categories. It's easier for me to make sense of it, so I do have them in separate categories. I started in January with 11 powder bronzers. I finished 2 this year. I did declutter 1. And that was to a friend. It was too deep for my skin tone, so I did declutter that to a friend. And I did add 2. I bought 2 of the NYX Butter Bronzers, and I haven't used them yet, so I don't know if I like them or not, but I did add 2 of those. So I ended up with 10, which is only a difference of -1, but I'm okay with that. It's fine. I don't think 11 bronzers is too much. It's more than I'll probably ever use, but whatever. So the next category are cream bronzers. And I started with 9. I did finish a whole cream bronzer this past year. I have one that's almost gone, and I really thought that I was going to be finished with it before I filmed this, but I'm not. But that's okay. But it'll be finished for the next check-in. I did declutter one. It went bad. It was also a e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. They sent the wrong shade. It was a little too warm. I decided to use it as cream bronzer. I really didn't like it as cream bronzer either, but in not using it, it did go bad. So I added 0. So I now have 7 for a difference of -2. Now we're moving on to powder blush. I did start with 22 powder blushes. I have panned 0 powder blushes this year. Guys, that's hard. I do have some with pans in them, but I haven't actually finished any. I did declutter one. I decluttered an Essence blush, which I love Essence blushes, but this was like an ombre blush to highlighter, and really I didn't use it, and so I just decluttered it. I added 0. So now I have 21, so it's a difference of -1. Blushes and highlighters are my biggest categories outside of eyeshadow palettes. I'm really kind of surprised I didn't add any blushes, any powder blushes, because that's one of my favorite things. Now cream blushes, I started off with 27 in January. I panned 0. I decluttered 0. And I added 3. All 3 of those were gifts. I got one from Charlie from Nut Butter Beauty. I got one from Leanna Dalton. And, I got one from my friend Dina. She gave me one of the ones that she got in her Ipsy bag. So I ended up with 30. I went from 27 to 30. So it's a +3 in that category. And so that could be better. I didn't buy them though. And I just love them so much. You guys, I love blush. I love blush so much. It's so pretty. Okay, next category are powder highlighters. I started off with 32. Now, I'm going to tell you what I panned, decluttered, and added. And then I'm going to explain. So I'm showing as panning 2. I did declutter 2. And I added 1. So the 2 that I panned, I actually frankened 2 highlighters to get 1 highlighter. So that's the one that was added. But the 2 that I have as panned were mini highlighters that I just frankened them together. And then I did declutter 2. I gave 2 to friends. I knew that they would use them more than I, and then I did not need them in my collection. So I did pass those along. So I went from 32 to 29, so that is a -3. But it was a roundabout way of getting there because, like I said, I frankened 2 to get 1, so I have 2 leaving and 1 coming in. Does that make sense? Because it makes sense to me. Next up are cream highlighters. I started with 7. I panned 1. It was a small liquid cream highlighter. I think it was a So Susan. I think it was in my 50 Shades of Yellow, but I can't remember. I decluttered 0 and added 0, so now I have 6 for a difference of -1. The next category are loose highlighters. Yes, I have cream, powder, and loose, all in different categories. I just can't wrap my head around putting them all in one category just because there's so damn many of them, and it works for me to keep them separate. Now, if I end up decluttering more or panning more or whatever and don't add many, I will probably put those all in one category at some point. But as of right now, they're all in different categories. So loose highlighter, in January I had 3, and now have 3. I panned 0, I decluttered 0, I added 0, so I still have 3. And those I'm trying to use and get them out, but man, they're like bottomless. Next up is setting spray. This one's very exciting. I started with 10 setting sprays in January. I have finished 6. I have finished 6 setting sprays. I have decluttered 0 and I have added 0. So I now have 4 setting sprays with a difference of -6. That makes me really happy. It's just a setting spray, but it's a win, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it as a win. Okay, next up we have face palettes. I started with 25 face palettes. I panned 0, obviously. You can't, I mean, it's really hard to pan an entire face palette in a year. But I didn't pan any. Newsflash, I didn't pan any. I did declutter 3. I decluttered 3 face palettes. 2 of them were BH. One of them was the Aspen. The other one was a Blacklight something. And they were both very chalky, and I did not enjoy them. And then the third one that I decluttered was Revolution. It was their collab with Grease. And it was just not cute. It was not good. No, not good at all. And I put that in my, I think it was my Project 3 uses, and realized that I did not like it at all. So, yeah, that went bye-bye. So now I have 22 face palettes for a difference of -3. We're moving on to lip products. I do have them broken down into several categories. So lip liners, I started the year with 21. I did pan 1. I decluttered 0, but I did add 4. I ordered 2 from Temu because those were the exact shades of what I wanted that I couldn't find anywhere else. I bought one from Give Me Glow. They were having a sale, and this was a beautiful lip liner. So I bought that one, and then I got one that was a gift with purchase from an Ulta order. So I ended with 24 lip liners, and that gives me a difference of +3. It's okay. I decluttered a bunch of lip liners last year, things that I knew I wasn't going to use. The things that I have left are things that I probably will use, so I'll just continue working on them, and hopefully maybe I can finish one more this year. Bullet lipsticks. I used to have my crayons and my bullets in 2 different categories. I have them in the same category now. The crayons, the sticks, the bullets, they're all in the same category. It's a solid lipstick. I'm putting them all in the same. I started off the year with 45 of them. I panned 0. I decluttered 6. And those were lipsticks that I knew I was not going to be using, things that I had multiples, like doubles, triples, quadruples of the same shade. So I picked the one with the formula that I liked the least to declutter. I didn't add any, so that's awesome. So I ended up with 39, so that gives me a -6. But I didn't use any. I didn't finish any. I decluttered them, but still, whatever. Next up is liquid lipsticks. I started the year with 36 liquid lipsticks. I have finished 4 this year. That makes me very happy. I didn't declutter any. I did add 2. One of those was a purchase, and one of those was a gift. So I purchased one from Give Me Glow. And then the gift, I can't remember which one that was. But I ended up with 34, so that is a difference of -2. At least that category went down. The next category are lip glosses. I have 25, which is ridiculous because I don't like lip gloss. But I have 25 of them. Last year I had a lot more. I ended up decluttering quite a few in my year-end declutter. I did finish an entire lip gloss this year. I was very, very proud of myself for that. I did declutter 2. They were very sticky. I did not like them, so I let them go. I added 0. So now I have 22 lip glosses, so that gives me a -3 difference. As long as that goes down, I am happy. The next category are lip balms and lip oils. I did not take a photo because I have lip balms all over my house, and I don't know where they all are. So I'm just take my word for it, okay? You just got to trust me. I started off with 17. I didn't finish any. I didn't declutter any, and I didn't add any. So I still have 17. I have 3 of them in my handbag. They're all partially gone. I'm not a lip balm wearer. I wear lipstick. I wear lip oils, but not really a lot. I don't really go through them. So I'm not surprised to see the same number as what we had in January. Next up, we're going to eye products, and we're going to start with mascaras. So I started the year with 13 mascaras. I panned 6. So I finished 6 mascaras so far this year. I decluttered 5, and 4 of those were dried up. They were all dried up. The one was, I gave it to my daughter. If she needs something and I have it, I'm going to give it to her, because I have too much to use in my lifetime. So if she needs something, I'm going to give it to her. And then I have added 5 because I was running out and I was panicked. So the last couple of months I have bought I bought 5 mascaras. So that leaves me 7 altogether. One of those is a mascara primer. So that gives me a difference of -6. For brow products, this is another category that I have combined. I used to have brow pencils, brow pomade, brow gel. I had all different categories. Now they're just brow products. I started the year with 14. I have since finished 2. I have decluttered 0, but I did add 1, and that was an eyebrow palette, the Sydney Grace eyebrow palette from Leanna Dalton. So that leaves me with 13 eyebrow products, and that is a -1 difference. Now, I wasn't really sure how to count that because it is an eyebrow palette. It has 5 or 6 different pans in it. So I wasn't sure if I was going to count them as each, but with my blushes and my highlighters, I had talked about that I was going to count them by pans, and I decided to not do that this year because that's a lot to keep track of. That's a lot of face palettes and things that I need to go through, and I can't be bothered with that, you guys. I can't. So my blushes, my highlighters, those are just single. They do include my highlighters and my blushes in Z palettes. They do include those. But as far as face palettes, I'm not going to count every single pan. I'm just not. All right. I do have my black pencil liners and my black liquid liners in 2 separate categories. So my black pencil liners, I started the year with 16. I did finish 1. I finished 1 eyeliner pencil because I have been working on this since the beginning of the year. You guys, this is the Urban Decay black pencil liner in 0. It's so tiny. Every time I sharpen it, I think it's going to be the last time. No. I knew it was going to be done by this inventory video. No. It's still going strong. It's so tiny. So now I'm just on a mission. I'm just on a mission to see how much I can use and how many times I can sharpen it. It's hilarious. Matter of fact, I've been sending Erin, every time I sharpen it, I'll send Erin a picture and say, I got another sharpen out of it. You guys, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. So anyway, I finished 1 this year. I did declutter 1. My daughter needed a black eyeliner pencil, and I had 16, so I gave her 1. I didn't add any, though. So that gives me 14 with a difference of -2. Now, black liquid liners. I started the year with 7. I have not finished any this year. I rarely wear black liquid liner. Very rarely. I did declutter 2, and those were the iMethod wing stamps. There's a left and a right, and I gave them to my daughter because she wears those way more than I ever did. And because Zach Dooley gave me a certain MAC liquid liner, I can do a wing on my own without a stamp. It just has the best little tip on it. I love it. I love it so much. So I decluttered 2. I didn't add any. So now I have 5 liquid liners. So that is a -2 difference. Now we're moving on to eyeshadow primers. I started the year with 12. I did not finish any because I've been working on the same eyeshadow primer in my Out the Door in 24 so far this year. And it is the primer that will not die. It just keeps going and going and going. So, I mean, at least you get your money's worth, right? But I had a backup to that. And I didn't think I wanted to use a whole nother one of those. I had a friend that was talking about buying it. I said, don't buy it. I'll send you mine. So I did declutter 1 to a friend. I added 0. So now I have 11. So that is a difference of -1. For my eye crayons and shadow sticks, those are all in one category. I started the year with 6. I panned 0. I decluttered 0. I added 2. I added 2 shadow sticks, things that I don't actually use. I added 2. One came in an Ipsy bag in the beginning of the year when I got Ipsy, and the other came as a gift with purchase. So now I have 8 of them, and that is a +2 in that category. Next category is loose shadow. Yes, I have it in a separate category because it just helps me keep track of everything. So loose shadows, I started the year with 4. I didn't finish any. I didn't declutter any. I didn't add any. So I still have 4. And I don't know if that will change because I don't really wear them either. Now, my potted shadow. These are single potted shadows. I started the year with 5. I panned 0. I decluttered 0. I added 0. So I still have 5 of those. I need to put those in projects. I need to put those in projects and see if I can finish them. I don't use them. I don't even know why I still have them. I cannot get rid of them. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get rid of them. They're beautiful. I will use them. Whatever. And these are in packaging, like in pots. These are not my like ones and Z palettes. So next up are Super Shocks. I had 48 Super Shocks in January. I have finished 0. I have decluttered 0. And I have added 0, which is a feat for me to go 6 months without buying a Super Shock shadow, but I have done it. I have not bought a Super Shock shadow this year. Bells and whistles. Bells and whistles. So I still have 48. Okay. My eyeshadow singles. These are all of my singles that are in Z palettes. In December, I've already talked about it, but if you're new here, hey, in December, I depotted all of my 9, 12, and 1 16 pan ColourPop eyeshadow palettes. So those, along with all of my other single shadows that I have in Z palettes, there are 382 of those. I have finished 4 single shadows so far this year. I am ecstatic about that. Those are all lid settings. 3 of them were lid setting shades. 1 of them was my brow shade. So yes, I have finished 4 single shadows this year. That's a good thing. That is awesome. I have decluttered 0, but I have added 23. I think that is a category that's going to always go up because I will buy them quicker than I will use them up. I am a sucker for some shifty shades, you guys. I do have a lot of non-shifty shades, I like mattes. 12 out of that 23 was an eyeshadow palette that I had decluttered that I then depotted and put them in a Z palette. It was a Rasha B Cosmetics. They were just too pretty of shimmers to declutter the whole thing. I wasn't going to use them as a palette. Why did I think I'm going to use them as singles? I don't know. It hurt my heart to get rid of it. So I did depot it. I did put it in a Z palette. So I now have 401 single shadows for a difference of plus 19. plus 19. That is a category that will probably always go up. I just love them. I don't use them near enough, but I love some shifty shades. Oh, love them. Okay, and our final category are eyeshadow palettes. I started the year with 196 eyeshadow palettes. I obviously have not panned any. I have not finished any eyeshadow palettes. That will probably never happen. I have decluttered 21 eyeshadow palettes. Yes, I have decluttered 21 since the beginning of the year. I will periodically look at my collection and know that there are some that I will never use because it's the same color story that I have 3 or 4 times over, and I know that it's not as good quality as this other one, and I will always use this one and not use this one. So in that case, I have decluttered them. I put them in my Mercari store and said goodbye to them. Now I have added 3 eyeshadow palettes this year. I did not purchase any. I have not purchased 1 eyeshadow palette this year. If you know me, you know that is crazy because eyeshadow palettes are my favorite thing. My favorite thing. But these were all gifts from friends. A couple for my birthday. One from Charlie from Sea Nut Butter Beauty gave me a palette not too long ago, in June, as a matter of fact. And yes, so those were all gifts from friends. I did not buy any, but my final number is 178 eyeshadow palettes. So I have a negative 18 on that. And yes, they were decluttered and not finished, but I'm still really happy with that number because I would rather pass them on or put them in my Mercari store or whatever and maybe get back some of the money that I spent on them. And if I'm not going to use them, there's no sense in letting them sit here and go bad. And that goes with anything in my collection. I will never declutter just to declutter, but I will declutter things that I know I will not use because life is too short to wear makeup you don't like. Okay, you guys, let's talk about final numbers. In January, I had 1,145 items in my collection. That's total items of everything in my collection. I have finished 52 items this year. I count that as a big win. I have completely finished 52 items this year. That makes me very happy. I have decluttered 50 items. Again, I am not going to apologize for that because I'm not going to keep something that I don't want. And I have had 54 items come into my collection this year. And a lot of those were gifts from friends. And again, I'm not going to apologize about that either. I have very generous friends. And we swap makeup. Sometimes I'll look at something and know that I'm not going to use it, and I'll send a message and say, hey, this is unopened. I haven't used this. Are you interested in it? Or I'll say, hey, this is very gently used. It looks like your color story. Would you like that? Or, like I said, I will put them in my Mercari store. So to end this half-year check-in, I now have 1,097 items in my collection for a difference of negative 48 items. So that's 48 items less that are in my collection from when I started in January. That makes me happy. That is at least moving in the right direction. We will see what the second half of the year brings, if I can finish as many items in the second part of the year as I did in the first part of the year. Let me know in the comments below of things that you finished this year that you are just over the moon about. Share your successes with me. You guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a long video, and I really appreciate you being here. And until next time, everyone have a great day, and we'll see you later.